Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show. Good morning to everybody. Feeling much fresher today, feeling much better. Or saying that, I feel like I'm at the age now where it's kind of a 2-day thing. And also I woke up with a ridiculously bad back, which makes me feel even older than the 27 years that I am. It's just not right. It's just not normal. But I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. Good morning to everybody in the chat box. Let's have a scroll up and see who's here. Jose got in here first today. Harvey, Tony, Nick. Good morning to you, Skynet, Jamie, Raheel. We've got Matt G. We've got Stevie, Wilson, Daniel. Good morning to you guys. Rob, Joel. Who else have we got in here? We've got Alexander Isak who's joined us this morning. That's very nice of you. Mox shares. Good morning to you too. Paul, Oderile, Karthik, good morning to you. Abdul, good morning to everybody in the chat box. Hope you're doing well. And good morning to Jean, who's joined us as a brand new member as well. Thank you for joining the family, the crew. I'm sure that people are going to welcome you in the chat box very, very quickly. I can see that they're already doing it. So if you've indeed joined up as an expert member or a TGT ambassador, you can join our Discord server. We'll be doing a members stream on deadline day tomorrow. We're going to try and get as many of the members on as we can around 7 o'clock tomorrow. That being said, I should pre-warn you, there's no 8 a.m. show tomorrow. No 8 a.m. show. I know that may seem crazy considering it's deadline day tomorrow, but I start work at 6 a.m. tomorrow because I'm doing my big 10-hour deadline day shift. I finish at 4. At which point I'll probably be doing like a 20-minute-ish show and then jumping onto a Burkout Wonderland with Danny at 4:30. And then we'll have the members show on deadline day at 7. And then the Arsenal Lounge show will be at 8 with Mo and Lev. And then I may do another show really late if something big happens right at the end. So that's kind of where we're at. So apologies, but I can't really get up at 5 a.m. and do a 5 a.m. show. That would be going a little bit over the top. But yeah, apologies. There's no 8 a.m. show tomorrow. Unless I put something together. I doubt I'm going to be able to do that in the time that I've got today. But yeah, so tomorrow, no 8 a.m. show. Show probably about 4:30 on a Burkout Wonderland. 7 o'clock back on here with the members. 8 o'clock the Arsenal Lounge. And then maybe another show really late in the day if anything big happens before the close of the window. So fingers crossed. We've got fingers crossed that everything's going to happen and that stuff is going to happen. But I will be live on the Arsenal Way tomorrow morning at 9:30. So whilst there's no 8 o'clock show on here, at 9:30 there will be a show on the Arsenal Way. So make sure you're tuned in for that, and we'll be keeping you up to date with everything that's going on in the world of Arsenal. We kick off though today with the story regarding Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now Al Nassr, who has been back and forth, suggested whether or not they were really interested. Some reports completely downplaying that interest. Some reports even widely criticising it as even real. However, a lot of outlets have now tweeted saying that Al Nassr have withdrawn their interests. The deadline for the clubs in the Middle East, or at least in Saudi Arabia, I think it's tonight. I think it might be tonight at midnight. So they had a deadline that they needed to work to. Al Nassr have withdrawn that interest, unsurprisingly so, because he wants to stay in Europe and he's got interest from clubs like PSG, Barcelona, Juventus, Sevilla. Barca and Juve look like the most likely destinations of all of them. What I would say, however, is that the player himself will just not entertain any move to the Middle East right now and will be looking to move if he can in the last 24 to 48 hours. He knows that he's going to struggle to get back into the Arsenal first team. Arsenal may still sign a striker between now and tomorrow. And so therefore it seems that a move away from the club to another top European team would make the most sense. I wouldn't send him to Juve though. Not at all. Not after the whole chaos with them. Eddie Nketiah, however, doesn't look like he's going to be leaving. There has been reported interest from Newcastle and from Crystal Palace. And yesterday, Arsenal rejected another bid from Crystal Palace for Eddie Nketiah. You may seem thinking, why would they do that? He's only got 6 months left. Surely we're just going to see him leave. Why not get some money for him? It's a very simple answer. If Arsenal let Nketiah go and Aubameyang leave, you've got Lacazette and that is it. And you've got a Lacazette that barely lasts 90 minutes, barely lasts 70 minutes during games as well. So it would be shocking if Nketiah leaves. The only way that he would leave is if Aubameyang stayed and we signed another striker. but that even that looks pretty unlikely at the moment. So Nketiah is expected to stay. He's in Dubai at the moment, training with the team, but Nketiah unlikely to leave Arsenal, but has been the subject of another rejected bid from Crystal Palace. Moving on to the possible ins, and yesterday it was interesting to hear some words finally from the agent of Vlahovic. Now the agent was asked about the move, and he basically just spoke along the lines of, when it's Juventus sort of thing. Like, it's Juve. Like, when Juve come calling, you don't say no. That was the explanation that was given. Now, there were some weird reports I saw claiming that Arsenal were supposedly a bit annoyed about this, saying that they were used. We've seen this before. Arsenal have been used loads of times, but we'll never know for 100% sure what the real story behind the scenes was. We'll never really know, I don't think, how hard Arsenal went in for this deal, unless we find out something in the Amazon documentary. We'll have to wait and see if that comes through. But yeah, the agent of Juventus finally speaking out. They do in fact exist. So it was interesting to hear those words, basically just saying that if it's Juve, it's Juve. But Vlahovic will play, of course, in Serie A and continue there with Juve. But I hope he fails catastrophically. He absolutely tanks. And the move from Arsenal was justified. Now, another frustrating move that doesn't look like it's going to happen is Douglas Luiz. Now, Douglas Luiz is obviously a player that has been interesting Arsenal over the last kind of week or so. And I don't think there was much chance of this happening anyway, but now it looks like the Tottenham Hotspur are going to be signing Rodrigo Bentancur from Juventus again, and Dejan Kulusevski. Aston Villa were looking at Rodrigo Bentancur, and it would be near impossible for them to allow Douglas Luiz to leave and for them not to bring in Bentancur, who was their number one replacement for him. So Douglas Luiz move, very, very unlikely with Bentancur going to Tottenham. That move, look, I think Bentancur is a very decent player. He's a decent midfielder. Does he step up on what they've really got? Does that concern me? It doesn't wildly. Does Kulusevski improve on what they've got? No, he's not any better than Lucas Moura or Heung-min Son. So those moves aren't concerning to me right now. It's not as concerning as it would have been seeing them sign Luis Diaz, but that doesn't look like it's going to be happening, which is a very, very welcome scenario. Let's jump into the chat box briefly, because I want to see what you guys are saying about this. Steve says, I just want to know where Juve's newfound money is coming from. Don't we all, mate? Don't we all? Amar says, I'm just saying, let's not get fooled by the Arsenal PR machine. I also noticed we got a brand new member as well, Sam Oju the second. What a fantastic name. Thank you and welcome to the crew, mate. And I hope you've joined up enough so that you can join up into our Discord server and, of course, and come on the shows as well. It'd be great to get your thoughts and feelings in there. Let's crack on, though, with the stories of today. And Tiago Tomas will sign with Stuttgart. Sven Mislintat's Stuttgart. Of course, Tomas was a player linked with Arsenal for quite some time. 18-year-old that burst onto the scene at Sporting, can play in a wide position, can play in a central position. Very tall, very, very highly thought of. He will join Sven Mislintat and Konstantinos Mavropanos at Stuttgart and likely take forward that role in the forward line, trying to keep them up this season. A very, very good 18-month loan deal with an option of around 15 million euros, I think, at the end of it. So really solid business again by Stuttgart. And another player in that striking position, linked to Arsenal, not coming to Arsenal. So this window really has been a bit of a downer. However, it could yet end on a high point, as Alexander Isak is currently in London. Now, the reason why he's in London is we're assuming pleasure. Pleasure is the reason why he's here. He's with Adnan Januzaj, who, of course, used to play for Manchester United, so knows England. And Alexander Isak is over here during the gap between Real Sociedad's fixtures. This obviously sparked one of the greatest, and I say that not lazily, because there has been some brilliant tracking and investigations by Arsenal's faithful about where players are, who they're with, what the cloud patterns are in the sky. But Isak's car was spotted in London. People suggesting that it was actually in North London near the Emirates Stadium. He was obviously in Selfridges yesterday too. I think this is a big coincidence. My own feeling on this is that it's a massive coincidence that he just happens to be in London during this period. Does that mean that a deal wouldn't happen? No, of course not. And Arsenal have got 48 hours to get this deal done if they still want it. But news coming out from Spain is that Real Sociedad are very, very calm about the situation, and that they know the only way in which Arsenal could sign Isak is if they activate that €90 million release clause. It's going to be a strange last 48 hours of the window. But look, I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful that Arsenal do activate the release clause. I would love to see Alexander Isak join Arsenal and give them an opportunity to push forward for the rest of the season. I think he's got the potential to be an absolutely brilliant striker, great on the ball, great hold-up play. He adds that extra bit of verticality and physicality. People don't think he's strong enough to hold players off like Vlahovic is, but I think they underrate how good his physical hold-up play actually is. Rapid, great dribbler, can take the ball past players, can do a lot of what we don't currently have in the team, and is definitely worth a step up. Is he worth €90 million? No, he's absolutely not worth €90 million at this point in time. The problem here is unfortunately that we don't have too much of a choice. And Arsenal have unfortunately got themselves in a position where the striking situation is so bad that we may need to overpay by quite a significant amount in order to get in a striker that we need before the end of the season. I would say value is probably between 40 to 45 million pounds, and we may need to overpay by about 30 if we want to get him. We'll see what happens. I don't think it would be a waste of money. I think it would be a move that could propel us into the Champions League. And let's be real, if he comes in and starts scoring, we'll all forget how much he costs. But if he doesn't, much like Nicolas Pepe, we won't forget how much he costs. Let's see what happens. But we're going to go into the chat box now and answer plenty of your questions. So if you do indeed have any questions for the show, throw them into the chat box and we'll try to tackle them as quickly as possible. For those that have just joined us or are new to the show, there is no 8 a.m. show tomorrow morning on deadline day. I'm working from 6 a.m. at Football London, so please don't hop onto the channel expecting there to be an 8 a.m. show, but there will be a 9:30 a.m. show tomorrow morning on the Arsenal Way. So do tune in for that. Link to the channel is in the description. Let's go through your questions, people. Let's jump into the chat and see what you guys are saying. Matt G says, Tom, you go by a lot of names on here. Which is your favourite? Tim, Todd or Big T? None of them. I'm making an effort not to answer questions with stupid nicknames. Speaking of Tim's, though, Tim Jallo says, what's your take on Charles Watts consistently saying his sources at Arsenal said they never bid or really went in for Vlahovic, and now Juve forced him to sign 6 months early? I mean, Charles has very, very good connections. Charles has got very, very good contacts, and I would trust what he says. Look, things can... It's a strange world. Different sources can coexist. Different stories can coexist, because one source may say one thing, another source in another club, another agent, another representative may say another thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that information is absolutely false, but, you know, contradicting stories can coexist with one another depending on the information that's being fed through. If Charles's information has said that Arsenal have never really bid for the player, you know, there's strong evidence to agree with Charles because he's got fantastic sources. But on the other side of things, there are plenty of other sources saying that Arsenal did bid for Vlahovic. So I don't think it's one that we need to get bogged down in now, but it's just one that you need to be aware of that, look, there's lots of conflicting stories out there. And in the end, it only matters when the player holds up that shirt. And what we do on this show is just discuss all of those rumours and do a blanket coverage of them and then give our own opinions about those. Chris says, hi Tom, if we finish outside of Europe, people say Arteta should go. If we don't sign anyone before the end of the window, should a conversation be had about Edu's failings with signings too? Absolutely, Chris. If we don't bring any players in this month, despite letting go of how many players we have let go, it would be a huge opportunity missed. It would be a situation whereby Edu has positioned himself basically to take a fall for this window, to not bring in a midfielder when we needed one, to let go of, to sanction the departure of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, to not get in that striker. That is the problem. That is the situation. And Arsenal should ask questions if we aren't able to get in the players that we need. People, and I want to say people, Harry is one of those who pointed out very legitimately that Arsenal may not be wanting to spend money on a player that they don't necessarily want, or that they can then go and get in the summer, one of their primary targets. For me, I think there have been players out there that have moved for very accessible, very reasonable fees that could have made a difference this season if we don't sign anyone in this January window. Manu says, if Isak joins us and gets injured immediately, will that mean £30 million wasted? Yes, but you could say that about any player, Manu, to be fair. Any player indeed. Gameboy says, what are your thoughts on Jack Wilshere's number 12 jersey in Dubai? I've got a feeling like if he doesn't sign for anyone, I feel like the club could offer him a pay-as-you-play or just a short-term deal until the summer just to register him. But I'd still be pretty surprised if he did. I'd still be pretty shocked if he did. Ashton says, would you rather sign Isak for 90 million euros or sign Osimhen for 60 million and Pepe in a swap deal? Would I rather sign? I like Isak more than Osimhen. And I think that the problem with that is that, 60 million plus Pepe is a very, very decent deal. I don't think Pepe is worth much more than 25 million. But the thing is that reportedly, De Laurentiis would accept 70 million euros. I think Pepe is worth a lot more than 10 million euros. So you could probably get a better deal. So I'd lean towards the Isak deal, to be honest, still. Chetan says, why are we not linking with average strikers and get rid of Nketiah? This may be a good short-term option because the club aren't really interested in just signing average players and just stopgaps anymore. That's the reason as to why. Noel says, do you think Januzaj could come as well? He only has 6 months left on his contract. I doubt it. I don't think he's the type or level of player that Arsenal are looking at right now. Lucas says, what do you think about Arsenal investigating skills on Isak's potential transfer? I think it's brilliant, Lucas. You've got to just hold your hands up and respect it, the commitment of our fan base. And I'll tell you what, look, Arsenal fans, when we're good, when we're in a good place, and when we're not abusing each other, and we're not saying stupid things to one another, and we're doing stuff like this, I'm telling you, it absolutely has an impact. When a player sees how much desire there is for Arsenal to sign you and how much desire there is from the fan base, and when you're getting hundreds and thousands of comments of Arsenal fans saying, please join us, there is no way in my mind that it cannot have some kind of psychological impact, some kind of impact on the player's personality to make them think, wow, I am so wanted by these fans. So keep it up, keep going, and keep asking for the players to join Arsenal, and who knows, maybe it'll happen. Daniel says, what do you think of the non-league player turning down Tottenham? Non-league player rejects Spurs. It comes up straight away. Ollie Tanner. Ollie Tanner has turned down a move to Tottenham Hotspur from Isthmian League Premier Division. The 19-year-old winger was dissatisfied with the personal terms offered by the North London Giants after Luiz accepted Tottenham's bid for the former Arsenal, Charlton and Bromley Academy player. Wow. I've not seen this story, and that's completely new to me. Oh, dearie me. Tanner missed today's game against AFC Hornchurch due to an injury sustained in midweek, and we look forward to welcoming him back to the side as soon as he is recovered. Tanner has been impressed while training for Spurs' development squad, but for whatever reason now appears to favour staying at Luiz. It is yet another blow in what has been a farcical window for Spurs, and there could be a genuine sense of panic at the lack of new faces through the door. Lol. Well, funny. A non-league player turning down Spurs. Fantastic stuff. Edwin says, Tom, good morning from Limerick in Ireland. Good morning to you, mate. Now, in your honest opinion, do you honestly reckon we will have a striker signed by tomorrow? Straight yes or no? I've said for the whole window, no. My honest opinion has been no. But that it is very much based on if I don't get my hopes up, I can't be as disappointed. I'll still be very disappointed. But if I'm desperately thinking that we will sign a striker, I'm going to feel even worse. So I'm going to go into it pessimistically. I'm going to go into it hopeful, but pessimistically. But I don't think we're going to get one. whatsoever. Nun says, Tom, what are you disappointed? Are you disappointed about the news about Bruno Guimaraes to Newcastle? I absolutely am. I'm gutted. Absolutely gutted about it, mate. Yeah. Mr. Lay says, hi Tom, morning from California. Good morning to you, mate. I think Arteta and Edu have bitten off more than they can chew. If we go into the second half of the season without a mid or a striker and don't make top six, then they both need to go. Look, I don't think that Arteta would be sacked based upon the actions in the January window. Edu certainly will face a lot of criticism. Arteta much less so, but at the end of the season, depending on where we finish in the table, that's when Arteta will certainly face the criticism, depending on where we finish. Deep 11 says, is Mavropanos coming back? Unlikely. Stuttgart have an option to buy him at about 2.5 million euros, so I doubt that they're going to turn that down. That's a ridiculously good deal. The player's worth more than 15 million to 20 million euros now, so why they would turn that option down would be ridiculous. Let's scroll down a little bit further. Malcolm says, I feel Everton would accept a 50 million bid for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Lille would accept a 50 million bid for Jonathan David. The remaining money could get us a very decent midfielder like a Tyler Adams. Yeah, look, it's interesting, Malcolm, because if you say to me, would you rather sign Isak now for 90 million euros or wait till the summer and sign Jonathan David and Tyler Adams for the same price? It's a real conundrum because I'd rather Jonathan David. Jonathan David's my number one pick now for the striker. And Tyler Adams, I think, is a really good option for this team and would step up the midfield, would step up the options in depth in other positions as well. But we need a striker so badly in this window that it's a real catch-22. It's a real catch-22. So fingers crossed it changes. But I'd love us to go and just go hard for Jonathan David now, but that doesn't look like that would happen. Michael says, hi Tom, who leads the line next season for Arsenal? Martinelli, Balogun or Beereth? I'm hoping it's the new striker, Michael, but you could be right. It could very well be one of those three. You have to think, you really do have to think about the fact that we are going to sign someone. And I say that with a veil of confidence eventually. I mean, I don't mean now, but I mean in the summer, that we will have signed a striker, you think, in the next 6 to 8 months. So let's see. Onside says, Tom, to be honest, you have not said no all window. I've watched all 8 AM shows with you saying the opposite. I've sat here and said that I've been hopeful, but I don't think we will sign a striker on side. I just don't think it's going to happen. Mohammed says, let's forget about signing this window, this winter break. We believe our boys are Gunners. Mohammed, I appreciate your optimism, mate. Gunner says, Tom, which option do you think is better? Vlahovic and Artur on loan, or Isak and Luiz on a permanent deal? Which Luiz are we on about? Why is my head gone complete blank on that? Luiz, do you mean David? Douglas Luiz, of course. Because it's a Z. I'm getting confused. Tom, which option do you think is better? I think that I still feel that Vlahovic would have been a better option. I think he's a better striker than Isak, and I like Artur. I really like Artur. But we may end up with the other one. But I don't think Douglas Luiz is going to leave Villa now that Spurs have taken Bentancur. Vinny says, Tom, isn't the Mavropanos by obligation clause if they stay up? It is indeed. They are on course to get relegated. Do they lose? No, they'll basically the obligation turns into an option, is my understanding. So they'll still be able to buy him for 2.5 million even if they go down. So we'll see. Deep 11 says, Tom, did you see Edu's pic on Instagram? Chilling and having a drink. I did, because it filled up my timeline. Look, if he's posting that, he must know what he's doing. You can't have that absent-mindedness to know that that's what you're doing. I'm not going to comment on it until the end of the window, because if he's posted that and we don't sign anyone, the lack of education, the lack of awareness for the fan base, that you know what they do, you know how they pick up on this stuff. We'll see. Then says, Tom, will William Saliba ever play in an Arsenal shirt? Didn't want him to be at our rivals as he's a beast. I'm very, very positive that he will. Yeah, I'm very positive. Very positive indeed. Manu says, so we are signing a striker in the summer and banking on him to hit the ground running. We don't have an alternative. The drop-off to the second choice is massive. Second choice now, first choice in the summer. This is something that I would have done, Manu, with Artur Cabral at Basel. I would have absolutely signed Artur Cabral as this striker for the last 6 months. He fills that Lacazette spot when he leaves, and then we go and sign someone to replace Aubameyang in the summer. That is absolutely what I would have done. Jasmeet says, Tom, did you see the photos of the Rolls Royce? Do you think it belongs to Isak? I did see the photos, Jasmeet, and honestly, who knows? Who knows at this stage? It would seem weird if it didn't, but there's a very good chance that it might not. Some bloke raises a very good point. Let Edu have a private life. I mean, people get very, very very jumped on the idea, of pictures being posted. I remember when Edu went and had his barbecue, or he was on a holiday somewhere, and then he went and signed 6 players in the summer, and everyone looked a little bit silly who'd been criticising him. I always said on the channel, look, let him have his life. He's entitled to do what he wants in his private time. Like, it's not 24/7 that he's working on this stuff, and he deserves to have some free time. Psychologically, if you don't, it could make you worse at your job. So look, let him do that. Maybe posting about it isn't the wisest idea, but I'm not going to begrudge him having a glass of wine in the evening. I'm just not going to begrudge him of that, really. It would be ridiculous to do that. I think it would be a bit embarrassing. I mean, if you're going onto social media and complaining about Edu having a glass of wine in the evening, like, if that's what you're complaining about, I'd probably check yourself. If you're complaining about him posting the image, I think you've got more of a valid criticism. I think there's a valid criticism to say, look, is it the wisest thing in the world to post a picture of yourself doing that on social media? Probably not. But if you're criticising him doing it, as in actually just having a glass of wine in the evening, there's nothing wrong with that. Saying there was nothing wrong with him having a holiday in the summer or having a barbecue, there was nothing wrong with that. It's the lack of awareness in posting about it that I would be more critical of. Gunners says, Tom, do you think that Arsenal have probably signed a few players, but they are not announcing it officially because of any particular reason? No, I don't think so. I feel like as soon as they've signed someone, they will announce it. As soon as they have sorted it, it will be announced, if it is announced. So we'll see. Joshua says, which right back do you think Arsenal will sign during the summer? It would depend on Cedric and whether he leaves. Tyler Adams, if he's someone that we bring in, can cover really competently at right back, so that wouldn't be an issue there. We've been linked to Tariq Lamptey, although that'd be a very expensive deal for a backup for Tomiyasu. But it depends how we want to change the structure. If we continue on with our back 4, if we switch to a back 3, we'll see. Viraj, I rate Tyler Adams very highly, and I think he would be a fantastic addition to the team, and he's very gettable because he's got a buyout clause. But again, I've not seen any strong links with him yet during this window at all. The last time we were really linked to him properly was back in November, and before that it was back in July. So I don't think that he's a realistic expectation in the final hours of the window. Omar says, why criticise? He ain't someone's slave. Why you have any say in what he does? He ain't answerable to us as far as I know. Look, criticise the job that he does. Be critical of his actions in the Arsenal job. But Edu, to criticise his personal life is just weird. It's just weird. Jasmine, thank you for the kind comment, mate. Over 1K viewers. Smash the like button. Guys, if you are tuning in, please do drop a like on the video. We had over 1,000 likes on yesterday's show. I know that I was doing it for a very rough period, but I do appreciate all the support, as always. Again, if you are tuning in, no 8 a.m. show tomorrow morning. There will be a 9:30 show on the Arsenal Way tomorrow. There is a link to the description. And then there's going to be a lot of content around myself in the evening. So do make sure you're awake and tuned in for all of that. But I'm working 6 till 4 tomorrow. So that's why there's no 8 a.m. show. Deep Lemon says, Tom, do we have any upcoming defensive midfielders from the academy? Yep, Tim Akinola is a really interesting young player that you should definitely be tuned in to see how he gets on. Vinay says, hey Tom, United, Chelsea, Spurs, West Ham haven't brought any players to improve their squads. Do you think we still have an outside chance? Yeah, absolutely. I still think there's an outside chance. You've always got to be optimistic. If you repeat what we did in the first half of the season, in the second half, I think there's a really good chance. But we do have 2 games against Wolves that we haven't faced yet that will be very, very telling about where our ambitions are. But what I would say is with those teams, and I think Spurs will sign someone. I think Spurs will sign Kulusevski and Bentancur. That should be done before the end of the window. United, Chelsea, West Ham haven't signed anyone. If we haven't closed the gap on those teams with what we can do in this window, we've missed a huge opportunity, Vinay. So, yeah, absolutely. We need to be signing someone and close that gap as much as possible. Don White says, Tom, why are we not looking at Schick? I am surprised that we're not talking about him. Just doesn't seem to be on the radar. He doesn't seem to have convinced them. I understand from the perspective that, 8 months where he's really come alive in these last 8 months from the Euros to the start of this season, maybe is not enough to convince them. But when I did the show with Josh Williams the other day on the Arsenal Way, talking about which strikers we would sign, he made some really good points about Patrick Schick. And I mean, he's got a lot more characteristics similar to that of Vlahovic than Isak and David. So I would be surprised. I am surprised to see us not really linked with that. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do drop a like on the video before you go. It takes you a second just to click that button. It would show a lot of support. We've done these shows every single day throughout the whole window, and it's frustrating. It's weirdly frustrating that I'm not going to be able to do one tomorrow morning, but there will be shows tomorrow still. 9:30 on the Arsenal Way, 4 o'clock on the channel, 4:30 on the Bergkamp Wonderland, 7 o'clock on the channel with the members. So if you are in the Discord server, there's a prompt in the members channel to show your interest to come on at 7 o'clock tomorrow till 8. And then at 8 o'clock, I'll be on the Arsenal Lounge with Mo, Lev and Shaheen. And then there may be another show on the channel even later in the evening. So it's going to be a busy day. And to be fair, we did hit 600 likes on the video a couple of days ago. I will do my best to try and do a vlog of some kind on deadline day. I will try and vlog the day as best I can. I've attempted 2 vlogs in my life. One of those vlogs was when I went to Arsenal. I can't remember what the game was, but it was ages ago. I think it might have even been the Emirates Cup or something like that, which was quite fun. And then the other one I attempted doing kind of a day in the life of me working, but I didn't really like it, so I didn't do it in the end. But I'll try my hardest to bring you a vlog of deadline day and, what it's going to be like for me getting up at 6 a.m, writing loads of stuff throughout the day and then doing the podcast in the evening. We'll see. But I look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing how it might come out. So fingers crossed it works. Fingers crossed Arsenal get the player that they need, which we know is the striker. As Joel says, we are nearly at 30,000 subs. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. We'll continue on the 8 a.m. shows. So make sure you're subbed to the channel. The 8 a.m. shows won't be stopping at the end of the window. We turn it into the Arsenal news show, and then we have a chat every morning at 8 a.m. So don't you worry. Even when the window's closed, we still carry on doing these 8 a.m. shows. So please continue to support the channel. You've made it part of your morning routines now. Lots of you, get up in the morning, get your breakfast, get your cup of coffee, whatever, chuck on the show. And I'm not going to go anywhere. So it's going to continue on. And thank you to everyone that's been sending the messages, by the way. Had loads of people sending DMs on Instagram and Twitter saying how much they like the show, how much it's become kind of part of their mornings as well, which is great. And when you read those comments, and, we get a fair amount of stick on the... I get a fair amount of stick from plenty of other people. I'm aware of that. But look, when you see comments like that, it makes it all the worthwhile. So thank you to everyone that has left some really kind, thoughtful comments on the channel, on the comment sections, in the DMs, on Instagram and on Twitter. Thank you. Thank you to the chat box, as always. You're absolute legends. And I will see you later on today. Probably. There'll probably be another show at some point. And then tomorrow, there's several shows across different channels that you'll be able to tune in for. That easily, I reckon I'll be streaming for about 3-4 hours on different channels. So let's see what happens. See you soon, guys. Have a fantastic Sunday. Get some rest and then wake up for deadline day, because it's going to be exciting, I hope. See you soon, guys. Have a fantastic day. And as always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gooners. Come on, just sign Isak, please. Please.